Welcome to one of the most important things about City Skylines in general, and obviously about City Skylines 2. It is zones, zoning, and also signature building. In today's video, I'm gonna guide you through this time's feature highlight with all the nitty-gritties in there, all the details, all the bits, and what you need to know about the new zoning features, because there's quite a lot of new stuff in this feature highlight. Alongside with it, as always, there is this wonderful article that I've already read for you, and I've already gone through all of the things, and we will actually do the same. We will go now step by step through the different zoning kind of things, as you can see on screen right now, and I'm gonna explain everything you need to know. Also, we get a little glimpse of how the maps do look. I will actually stop there for a moment. There are a couple of things in here which are super interesting, but let's just dive right into it and start with the beginning. So let's stop the video, and we're going to start right off at the beginning. And I mean, this is still a pretty decent looking city that 2.20 built, but what I want to do is, first of all, I want to catch up on the different zone types. Now, we've seen that already from the trailer analysis and stuff like that, but we have finally confirmation of what is what, so to say. So we have 5 different types of zoning, as you can imagine. We've got the residential, we've got the commercial, we've got industry, we've got the office buildings, and we do have industries. Now, this is pretty much as you have known it already from Cities 1, but they have added the office buildings and they have added mixed zoning. I'm going to talk about mixed zoning a little more when this is in the video, but as of now, you can see we've got 6 different types of residential buildings, even though I have to say that this is not 6 different types, it's actually 5 plus the mixed zoning, because we've got low density, we've got medium density, and we've got high density, but each of them have special things to it. We also have high density with low budget living. So we've got high density, but in there will be a lot of low cost apartments, so just like bungalows in a huge skyscraper, for example, that are especially important for example, students and young adults that actually moved out from home, as they state. So I'm very happy that they look at the positives of these types of buildings, because as we all know, they can also be pretty negative for low income people that are there because of different reasons. But this means that you can use these type of buildings in very high density areas where you want to have, for example, students that go to a uni and you don't want them to move to the university for too long, and you don't want them to take the public transport too much, because potentially you don't have public transport that much, or it's too expensive, so you can put them closer to university by building these things. And then we've got the same stuff with low density buildings in singular or multi-row houses. So that is pretty cool. And you can also always change the theme of both. As you can see over here, you've got the theme European or US. You do choose the default when opening the map. Let me just quickly jump to the map in a second. This is the typical zoning, as you know. Just going to quickly go through it. You can either take the whole mouse and zone while, hovering over and making this huge zone. Then you still do have the option to go over with a bit of a painter, and you can go into the individual squares. One very good quality of life update they did in here is that you now are able to get rid of the zoning by right-clicking your mouse. You don't have to switch to D-zone tool. There is no D-zone tool anymore. There is just a zoning or painting tool, and then you can just depaint it. So that is pretty simple, and I'm very happy that they did this, because that was a pain to do in the first one. Now, let's have a little look at the maps over here. You can see these seem to be the new game maps we have at the beginning. I'm not quite sure if we've seen anything like that already, but it's very interesting to see that we have actually San Francisco in here, which is pretty interesting, that they have something official like that in. But I guess, from the areas, also windy fjords. I'm not sure if there's anything also from Norway or so, because I am not an expert on Norwegian geography or whatever, or geography. But we still have some from the first one, just done very much nicer and very much bigger, as you can tell. So this gives us a little hint on how big this is. But you can also see down here a couple more info about these things. So outside connection, you've got basically everything. Also, electricity as an outside connection is very interesting. So that seems you can also import electricity, which is really interesting, because that's another real life thing. So really cool stuff here. And also you can see different types of natural materials you are using. And then we've got all these maps. I'm not going to go into these because that's not part of today's video. I hope there's going to be more in a future one. So in here you can also set a couple of things which the community has asked for in the last week on Twitter. And also fun enough, Colossal did actually already say what this is about, and they also said that you can change the traffic, you can say disasters are on or off, you can unlock all and have unlimited money, so you can basically turn your game into a sandbox already at the beginning. And it's quite interesting to think about the fact that this wasn't possible in Cities 1, but now it obviously is. So really cool. You can also, you know, generate a name for your city, which I don't think it's needed because everything will be named Cameltown, as we all know. And you can disable tutorials, which is also pretty good that you can finally do so. Now let's go over, once we've started the game, you can see this is the city, and it's very interesting. As you can tell over here, this is a mixed styling building. You've got some US buildings over here and some European buildings over there. Just very nice how they mix them up. Super cool. You've got American low density stuff over here with the rich people housings and row houses, and you know, you have a lot more control over how you want to make your city look, and you don't need to make this so super complicated. This one over here is a very cool one. This is also just saying the mixed zoning has a medium density residential and a commercial zone in it. So just so you're aware, it's a normal commercial zone plus a medium density housing. This is why I said it's not 6, it's basically 5 plus 1, because you can either go medium density building or medium density building plus commercial. So that's kind of cool, because then you can just integrate it into your medium density residential area, so you don't have a difference there in how many people can get an apartment or whatnot. So very neat over here. You can see a couple of examples over here. We don't need to go too much into it. I really do like how this all comes together. And then we have commercials. Nothing changed over here. You've got low density and high density commercials. You can see them how they are placed. I think the overview is a bit nicer than in Cities 1. And it's also very interesting from this screenshot over here how many it seems that you need, because that seems like some legit masses of commercial buildings over here. So very interesting about that. You can also see some of the brands over here. Also a nice little car down here. That one is interesting. But you can see this cooking over here and Shimes or whatever. That's really cool. Some of the brands from 1 made it into 2. And even though I do not recall all of them, but it's very, very, very cool how that is. And now we jump into industrial areas. And as you know from the first one, there is some really cool stuff in here. Even though I have to say, this is pretty cool that we have from the beginning some bigger industry, as it seems. This seems to be like a huge caving or like excavation area with a connected industrial zone that seems to do the goods that you are producing from this excavation. Very nice stuff. I thought this was an industry, but it seems to be just already in the industrial zone, which is very cool. So it seems like you zone the area, and once there's an excavation point, you can do that. Very interesting to see how that works. Now you can see the buildings, and I'm very happy that the buildings look a lot better than the industrial buildings in Cities 1. I always found them super ugly, and I thought, like, you know, that's still too much 60s, you know, in comparison to modern day industrial zones. So that's a lot more modern. I do really like that. It looks a lot better. And you can see some really, really modern buildings. But yeah, then you go over to the office buildings. And again, you have got low density and high density buildings, which is kind of cool. You can make your own little coda parks, as they said, like where you have some, you know, Silicon Valley-ish startup buildings. And then you can also have your high-rise, bigger skyscrapers in the city. Also, I love the fact that you can see these things are like very much inspired by like startup buildings. I love it. CRI Moore, for example, over here as a brand, or just like some others. Really cool. I really like the fact that you have a bit more control over how this should look, and then boom, there you go. These are like the huge office building, New York City style, huge skyscrapers. But as you move on, and this is also something really cool, you can unlock special buildings. Before we do so, here's another example of industries, by the way. This is how you zone as you have done in the industry DLC. For example, this over here is an industrial zone that you define for like agriculture, and then this agriculture is further worked on in this industrial zone over here, as you can see, and these goods have to be transported in the city, and you have to find people who buy the stuff you make. So just like in the first one, it gets a bit more complex. You now have to produce the goods that you bring to your city that can be sold in the commercials or what the offices work for. But with further going into what you do, you will also unlock some specific buildings. some special buildings, as you can see on screen over here, and they are just like ploppables. And I really like the fact how you can do this. Also, I like the fact this is like the switch on. Well, switch on. I mean, this is, you know, for the humble toaster of the self-organized sock drawer. This factory makes everything that runs on electricity. I was about to say it's TwitchCon, but it's actually switch on. I was stupid over here. But yeah, these special buildings can be placed down just as a ploppable, but they act like a normal building from this type of zone. So if you do put down a ploppable office, for example, it's just another high density office building, which is cool because then it just fills in and it's not like a special tourist whatever. I mean, it is good for tourist attraction, but it's not a tourist building per se, which I find the right decision. And also, let me just quickly play that real quick because it's super, super interesting to hear. I love how they just made this a little part of the video. It's just too hilarious. Let's have a little listen.
Build, and you can plop them anywhere. Plop. It's city skylines lingo. Go on, say it. Plop. What's so special about signature?
Plop is the word over here. So signature buildings, as you can tell, they, as I said, are plopped down. I love that. But they act like a normal building in there. And you can see here are some of the signature buildings already on display. So a huge impact on the game because this is, as you can see, this screen over here. I mean, it's just like super cool. So what is that? Is that flying something? There was something flying over there, wasn't that? Wait a sec. I just caught that. What was that? Oh, there is actually something flying. Is that like a small plane? What is that? Do you see that? It's like a small plane over here flying over the city. That is interesting. I thought there was like a flight restrictive zone. Potentially not over here, but this looks like a little I don't know, airplane, like a kind of whatever is this, like a sports plane or whatever. I can't really distinguish what it is. Anyways, let's quickly stay on this screen and yeah, take a little resume and a little summary of the zoning. Like, you know, many of the things have been obvious already from, you know, going into the analysis and the screenshots we had. But it's very good to finally get confirmation for all of our, you know, estimations and our dreams maybe and hopes, so that we do have all these things at hand. I'm especially hyped about the different residential areas because that gives us a lot more control over what you want to do, what you want to build, what you want to create, obviously, as a city. And also then again, add in the option to have a different style. Now, let me just take a little moment here to speak about personalization and individualization. I think what makes cities so strong and made Cities Skylines 1 so strong is how many things have been added via modding. This game, with every single feature highlight they drop out, is actually looking to be a little bit more accessible because they already build the game as if they're expecting more content to be added. And especially with the signature buildings, with the different types of building styles, for example, they just open the door for an in-game development. You know, just imagine you now have a US and European style buildings, but how about South American style buildings? How about African style buildings? How about Australian style buildings? How about Asian style buildings? You know, you can add in so many things like with an update, which I think is pretty good, because then you don't need a mod for that. I mean, I'm pretty certain that mods will be available for that, but still, you could have that as an official thing for the game, especially for console players. That is a very good news. And the same goes for signature buildings. You don't have to stop there. At the beginning, it seems like we've got, I don't know, 10 per each category, which is not that much. It's also not that little, but it's not that much. So they can also go on and add this for the future. And I'm also not sure, I haven't checked, actually, let me just quickly check. There was this over here. Is this also... oh, look at that. Okay, so it's actually a lot more because they have chosen the European theme, and in the European theme, it seems like, let me just quickly count. This is 9 in a row, isn't it? It's like 4, 4, 9. Okay, 9, it's 10, 11, 12. 12 in Europe. Maybe we even have more, I don't know. That's fairly interesting. Also, I'm quite interested into, like, this seems to be its own category. And funny enough, the tabs have been changed over here. So it seems that we get some signature buildings, especially for mixed zoning, which is another good option to see what happens in the future. But interestingly enough, they seem to have already incorporated the different styles into their tabs over here. Let me just see if they stay with the European style. And in that tab, you don't even have a... Okay, look at that. This is interesting. So the industrial and the office buildings seem to not have a style. They don't have to go with a, you know, kind of different style from the origin. But for the other three, we do have a switch on for the different styles for US or Europe. That is interesting. So that means we can either filter them, maybe it's 12 in total and they can just filter them, or we do have more than 12 and just 12 for each, I don't know, style. But again, it opens up so much for the game for the future, and I can't wait to see what is possible with this. Oh, that last shot is also so gorgeous, by the way. It's just nighttime, but daytime, nighttime, daytime. Anyways, I think I've said enough about this. I'm super hyped for this. I can't wait for the next feature highlights. I really hope you're still enjoying these updates. If you do enjoy these updates, let me know in the comments down below also what you found most exciting so far from all these updates. And if there are any questions, anything you want to know more about, or what we can do in the coming days about Cities Skylines 2, let me please know in a comment down below. Get that engagement in there, would be lovely. And if you haven't pre-ordered the game, by the way, you can do this via my link in the description to Instant Gaming. You get good value of that, and you can just click there and, you know, just make sure you pre-order the game to be ready when it drops in October. Now, that's that from today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope to catch you up in the next one again. And until then, have a wonderful time, and I see you in the next one. Goodbye.